Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new podcast. Yes, episode 30 of the Unnamed Motorsport podcast. Once more, back with Jamie183. Jamie, how you doing this week, mate?
Pretty good. I wasn't able to watch the race in full again. But yeah, I caught up. It seems like a good race, a decent race anyway. I'm very nervous getting straight on as a Max fan, but we move and it's all good.
You're still in the lead of the championship for now, but... Yeah, Jeddah and Yas Marina. I cannot wait. I know we're going to talk about this later on in the podcast as well, but if for whatever reason Hamilton does manage to bring this back, the amount of comments that are going to be, Yas Marina changed their track to make it Mercedes OP.
I'm just looking forward to whichever way the championship goes. The amount of bad takes people bring back from mid-season.
There's going to be so much salt. Honestly, it's going to be mad.
I'll be one of them if it's a Lewis title.
Yeah, I mean, the streets are going to run thick with the sense of salt in the air, but yeah.
It's absolutely the best title fight in super long, though.
Well, I retweeted something earlier on today. I don't know if you saw
2012.
It's much better than 2012. Yeah, I retweeted something earlier on today going... It's a good job we've had both Max and Lewis this year, otherwise one of them would have probably ran one of the most dominant title campaigns of all time. Like, it makes you realise, with obviously the last couple of years, Hamilton hasn't really had to work as hard for his titles, has he? It does make you wonder just how many Grand Prix he could win in the year, like if he properly wanted to.
If he had... I guess you'd raise a level when you got a competition, didn't you?
Exactly.
So when it's just Bottas, you just do what you need to do, and sometimes you're off it because you're not focusing.
Exactly. Yeah, he's too busy doing whatever he wants.
So on it, and like.
Yes, yeah, but obviously we left Brazil last weekend. I'm rather surprised. Obviously, we kind of all forgot we got 3 races in the Middle East to finish the year, but we've got a break week in the middle, but not a break week from going from South America to Asia.
Very strange.
Yeah, not 100% sure how that works, but. We head to Losail. Now, I'm guessing, obviously, for you, Jamie, it was a track you'd never heard of, knew nothing about before this weekend.
That's true. I saw maps and thought it looked like a BTEC Bahrain. So
to be fair, that's pretty much what it is. I'd driven it a little bit, or ridden it even, I should say, on MotoGP games in the past. And then I think I'd done a few laps on Assetto Corsa years ago, back when I used to just download every mod I could find. But, yeah, heading into...
I know one thing.
You know one thing.
Nico Hülkenberg held the track record before this weekend.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't.
Who did then?
It was Davide Ragon, because I made a video on this.
Oh, well, he won the last race there.
It doesn't mean he held that record, then,
I don't know.
Does
I
it?
thought he had that record. My stat's terrible.
Davide Ragon did a 1:38.699, if I remember correctly. Thank you very much, in the GP2 Asia 2009 series.
Oh, wow, that's so interesting.
It is. That's why it made it to a short video. But yeah, of course, we left Interlagos last weekend, didn't we? Still, tensions were running high. Mercedes confirmed they were going to be announcing they were going to appeal the decision for Max Verstappen not getting a penalty in Interlagos, obviously for the controversial defensive manoeuvre. I think to be honest, we all knew that the FIA weren't going to change their mind on that. They'd been made to look such mugs for not being able to get the footage in the first place. There was no way they were going to go, oh yeah, sorry, we made a mistake.
Yeah. There was no way it was going to get reopened just because of the onboard footage. Like, to be fair, I thought the onboard footage sort of made their case, like in terms of the FIA, it suited their story quite well because he wasn't out of control.
No, to be fair, like you watch it from the onboard and it doesn't look as bad.
No,
I mean it's horrendous driving.
It's still not good driving. And if that happened to me in league racing, I would fume.
Like you think if he crashed into Hamilton there, like we said last week, it would have been a pen. Like if Hamilton had tried to make the corner. But, yeah, so, obviously, the only other sort of major news then before Losail was, of course, we confirmed this last week before it happened, but Giovinazzi's out of the Formula 1 drive.
Yeah, don't care at all.
Obviously, you're a big Guan Yu Zhou fan. Like I've said before, neither of them really deserve the seat. It should have gone to Piastri.
I mean, Zhou does deserve the seat.
Zhou
and Piastri both deserve a seat, and it's just happened.
But Piastri deserves one a lot more.
Piastri, I can say this now, come back to it in 10 years' time. Piastri will have a longer career than Zhou in F1, I think.
Really?
But I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you not agree? I remember,
the problem
actually,
I just...
I'm going to mug Matt off about something. Back in... Must have been 2016. This is such a throwback.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly where you're going with this.
Quote from Matt212. So I said, "Oh, Pierre Gasly will have a much longer career than Jolyon Palmer," because I was a big Gasly
Was it
fan.
Gasly or was it Hulkenberg?
It was Gasly for
Okay.
sure, because he wasn't in the drive at the time.
Right.
Matt then says, "Oh, but you're acting as if Gasly ever gets a drive."
Yep.
So you claim to me that Gasly will be in F1 for less than Jolyon Palmer, which is already incorrect.
Just a reminder, junior teams don't count. I don't make the rules, Jamie, but junior teams don't
doesn't count. Yeah.
Let's just remember, Jolyon Palmer maintained a seat in a top team for nearly 2 years.
A top team? They were ninth.
Renault are a huge manufacturer. How can you not think they're a top team?
Okay.
He
And
put
they
the
got
groundwork in
rinsed
to
by
allow
Hulk.
Fernando Alonso to get a podium this weekend, and don't you forget it.
Okay.
He is also, all jokes aside, a fantastic analyst.
He actually is, yeah. Low key. High key. He's amazing.
Yeah.
We like Jolyon Palmer now.
Exactly. We've gone from Giovinazzi to Jolyon Palmer there. That is impressive for us. But yeah, Giovinazzi out of the seat. Again, no real surprises there. Guan Yu Zhou, I'll be interested to see how he fares next year.
I really hope he beats Bottas. I'll laugh so hard.
I think we'd all laugh pretty hard if he does beat Bottas, but I'd laugh through the tears because I know you won't bang on about it forever.
For the rest of his career,
Exactly, exactly. When he's getting slapped up by some Oscar Piastri, probably. But yeah, moving though to Losail, I watched a little bit of Friday practice, only briefly, just because it just so happened I remembered it was on. I think the track drivers seem to be enjoying the track, but it was always one of those ones, wasn't it, where you sort of think it'll be a good laugh to sort of qualify around, but not really a particularly great Formula 1 circuit.
Yeah, which even look at the maps, you could sort of tell
Yeah.
that was going to be the case. But I liked how there's some tracks that really like split the drivers between who's good and who's not, and like the driver tracks rather than the car tracks, like stuff like Monaco. I would argue is probably the most.
Monaco is
one.
the biggest drivers track in
Yeah.
F1, yeah.
And Losail felt quite like a driver track because
I think
some of the gaps were so big.
you
It was
get
like
that
crazy.
generally though at first races at venues though, don't you?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Obviously, it's a lot less of an impact nowadays because obviously all the teams have got the simulators and all this, that, and the other. But
Apart from Haas.
and Ferrari. Apparently,
really?
Ferrari didn't have a simulator for this track because I don't know if you watched it on YouTube. They did a lap of Losail with Sainz and Leclerc, and Sainz said he didn't get to do any laps on the simulator, and Leclerc misheard him. Went, "Wait, you got laps on the simulator? The team didn't tell me you didn't have it." So I think he was about to walk out of Ferrari in that moment. But yeah, I think it was never going to be a track that reshapes the way we view Formula 1, was it? But
Not at all.
for a Grand... Again, obviously you get that sort of first race at a certain track hype, don't you?
Yeah, but it was interesting. I think that I like it when the best drivers can actually make a difference, which I think we saw.
Yes, yeah, exactly. With Gasly falling out the points on the front row. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk about that a bit more in just a moment. Of course, we jump into qualifying, though. Nothing really happened in Q1. The only massive shock, it kind of just felt, didn't it, like all the midfield teams were very much converged on each other this weekend. Like, really, Ferrari, McLaren...
Almost what we hoped for at the start of the year with Aston and Alpha Tauri.
Yes,
and
yeah.
Alpine being, like, right there with Ferrari and McLaren.
Yeah, but yeah, nothing really happened in Q1. Perez out in Q2 was a rather big shock, wasn't it?
In fact, a lot of Q2 was quite surprising. Perez being the main one, but, like...
Leclerc went out?
Leclerc went out and Ricardo
was no surprise, was it? But yeah, so then obviously we get to Q3, and this is where the drama kicked off. So Hamilton has been looking in control, but not unreachable, hasn't he? Like you can sort of you could think Max might be able to get a worldly of a lap in and beat him.
Yeah.
Hamilton though immediately comes out with a mega banker lap right at the start of Q3.
Yeah. Max was still only 2/10 off it or something.
No,
wasn't a lot
3
in
or
the first runs.
4, I think, wasn't it? No, but you might have been right. At the end of the first runs, yeah, it might have been about 2-3 tenths. Obviously, they all then start going out for their final runs. Hamilton goes purple, sector 1, 3 tenths up on his previous. Purple through sector 2, comes across the line. The team was saying like pole would be like a high 1 minute 20. That's what they believe, like a 20.9. Hamilton bangs in a 20.82 or something mad.
Yeah, it was very, very good.
So he's immediately like 6 tenths up on pole position. And then the man we've grown to... Well, Jamie's always loved him, but the man I've grown to love this year, poor Pierre Gasly, final couple of corners, just runs a bit wide over the curb, front wing gets caught and punctures the front left tyre.
It was actually on to beat Bottas. Obviously, Bottas would have improved, you'd imagine.
Yes, yeah, Bottas was up.
Had Gasly finished a lap, he would have gone third at that point.
Yes, yeah. So obviously he's limping around the final couple of corners, trying just... I don't know really... Because the thing was he got too far past the pit lane, didn't he? Like, he couldn't get into the pit lane in time. So he was kind of just trying to stay out the way, which is always a bit difficult right at the end of qualifying, isn't it? Because this isn't a common occurrence in a qualifying session.
Not at all. And the marshals and the stewards couldn't decide if to throw a yellow flag or not. I think it's always this with a race direction. Like, you know, they don't want to throw a yellow flag because it ruins qualifying, but they sort of have to when there's a slow car on the inside of the track.
Exactly.
But they didn't do it at first, and then only when the marshals started waving flags, because they just do it by default.
That's what they're trained to do, yeah.
Yeah, at that point they were like, yeah, we better throw actually yellow flags out, which certain drivers chose to not pay any attention to, which was a bit stupid. But,
yeah. So weirdly enough, we had 3 drivers ignore it, and they all got different penalties in the end.
What did Sainz get in the end?
Sainz didn't get a penalty in the end. Ferrari somehow managed to wrangle him out of it. Yeah,
FIA.
Exactly. Bottas got a 3-place penalty for ignoring single waved yellows. I saw so many comments on Twitter about this, why he got less of a grid drop than Max. And obviously Max got a 5-place grid penalty for double waved yellows at the end there. So Gasly went from getting a puncture to P4 to getting that puncture, moving himself up a row on the grid to starting on the front row.
Yeah. They put Alonso into third as well, which was pretty incredible for the Alpine team.
Alonso in third for Alpine as well. And obviously this was the big battle. Obviously AlphaTauri and Alpine tied on points going into this weekend. This was, I mean, obviously the battle at 1 and 2 is still really close. But this was the
3 and 4 has died down a little bit.
Yeah, Ferrari have just been comfortable. And this was sort of like the big battle again, wasn't it? That really could go either way to the end of the year. But again, obviously, we'll talk more about that when we get into the race. So, yeah, like you said, though, we've got Hamilton on pole, Pierre Gasly on the front row ahead of Fernando Alonso and Lando Norris there. Then there was some confusion between whether Bottas or Sainz should be starting 5th. How on earth the FIA managed to mess that up, I'll never know.
Yeah, what?
Did you not see this?
I didn't see much on Sunday morning at all.
So, basically, the original grid had Bottas in 5th, until people pointed out he qualified 3rd, so he should be 6th. Because of whether, obviously, the way the penalties work, Max got a penalty first, so Bottas apparently moves up to P2, but he doesn't because he got a penalty as well. Yeah.
It's like when, do you remember Monza 17, where like all but 8 drivers had like mad engine penalties?
What was it?
All went to...
Was it Sainz who got a 10-place penalty and started where he qualified anyway, wasn't it?
There was someone else. I think it was Magnussen took a 5-place penalty and moved up a place.
Yeah, wild times back at Monza.
That was such a stupid race.
But yeah, I mean, as a Hamilton fan, I'm looking at that starting grid thinking, yeah, good luck, boys.
Yeah.
Have a fun battle behind. Hamilton is sailing off into the sunset, and to be fair, didn't quite sail off into the sunset, but he certainly didn't look like he was having to fight for the win, did he?
He was looking like he kept them at arm's length the whole time.
Exactly.
And Verstappen recovered extremely well after being an idiot in qualifying.
Well, this is what I was about to say, shouldn't we? Obviously, off the start. Hamilton, really, there's no more mention of him in this video. He just leads the way at the front, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But we saw Alonso jumped Gasly off the start.
Yep.
Max had
almost killed Verstappen.
Yeah, he did almost kill Verstappen through turn 2, completely swapped across him, which I thought, Alonso, I don't like you, but I really want to. Obviously, Max then ended up P2 anyway by like lap 5 because Gasly let him through.
I mean, he went wide.
He let him through. Like, did you hear the team radio?
I heard the team radio at the same time. Yeah.
Exactly. it was, and the thing is, like, as a Hamilton fan, it's like annoying to see that. But on the other hand, I'm sort of like, it made no difference. Verstappen would have got him.
You've also got to look. You've got racing. I mean, back when it was Racing Point, I guess that was more so close to Mercedes. But Mercedes have control of Williams, basically.
Wow, that's useful, isn't it?
There was one race in Monaco. I can't remember what year it was, but it must have been 17 because Hamilton was recovering. They told Ocon to let him through in Monaco, which he wouldn't have got through by default.
He was still a Mercedes junior then.
But he's still not a Mercedes driver. Like, people complain that, it's unfair, Red Bull have got 4 cars and Mercedes only got 2. It's just these things happen sometimes. Like,
yeah, and this is the problem, isn't it? People forget F1 is a business.
Yeah.
Like the
It's
teams
not just
are
it's not for entertainment.
businesses. Like our entertainment is kind of just a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird concept when you think about it, like sport in general.
Well, it's all sport generally, isn't it?
But yeah, they're businesses at the end of the day, and if there's cashola to be had, hence why everyone has released NFTs this year.
Yeah.
Like gotta love that. But yeah, so we see obviously Gasly let Max through on lap 3, then he gets Alonso on like lap 5 or lap 6, doesn't he? Around the outside. Whilst obviously all this is going on, Perez is making slow progress back up the order. Bottas finally does something after Toto Wolff yells
dropped
at him.
down from like 6th to... Where did
11th by the end of lap 1.
It was terrible.
I mean, the thing was, I wasn't even surprised by that. It was that whole angry but not... Sorry, yeah, angry... No, not angry, just disappointed. Yeah. Like, it's just frustrating watching that. And again, Bottas is such a conundrum. Like, how can one weekend he be matching Hamilton and the next he can't overtake Lance Stroll?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
It's bizarre. It's just... I can't wait for him to not be a Mercedes anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But he did pull off a good little move, though. Obviously, Yuki Tsunoda was under pressure from both Stroll and Bottas. They
almost made a right mess of it. But...
yeah, they go 3 wide into turn 1. Stroll hooks it around the outside and obviously completes the move there, so Tsunoda loses 2 places in one go. Then after this, again, sort of the race kind of quietens down, doesn't it? We've sort of got Bottas and Perez both making slow progress. Gasly pits really early and is never seen again. He gets lost in the shadow round.
They chose to go through Q2 on softs, both AlphaTauris.
Yeah.
Which Gasly certainly could have got through on mediums, you imagine, because Sainz did.
But Perez couldn't.
Yeah, I know Perez, but the AlphaTauri... I saw a take, actually. I'm not going to agree with it. I'm just going to state it. But the AlphaTauri was as quick as the Red Bull this weekend.
Oh,
and Max was just on a different level.
Behave.
Both of them out-qualified Perez. Like...
Yeah, but... Perez just like I think they were close, but only on Saturday. Like race pace, they were no.
Oh yeah, race pace. The Red Bull was obviously way quicker.
They clearly set up the car just for all-out qualifying because everyone thought it was going to be a lot more difficult to overtake here, didn't they?
Yeah.
But obviously we then see Max and Lewis pit quite early as well. Obviously Max I think was just trying to sort of rustle Lewis's feathers, but Mercedes were like, he's 10 seconds back. We just pit the lap after he does.
Yeah.
Like, that was just the game plan all day. Lap 29 though, already halfway through the Grand Prix, and it still doesn't feel like a huge amount's happened. Perez and Alonso have a nice little battle through turn 1, 2, 3 and 4, don't they?
Yeah, pretty good. Perez looks fairly good for a podium at that point. Obviously Bottas is well back. But yeah, we'll get to why it didn't happen eventually. But yeah, soon after that both of them pitted, didn't they, for the first time?
Yes.
This is the point I didn't watch the race at, so...
Yeah, I'm pretty certain they had both pit by this point of the Grand Prix, because obviously Alonso made a one-stop work from soft tyres.
Yeah, amazing stuff.
Which was kind of wild. But then, of course, the drama starts to kick in. Lap 33, Bottas still out there on mediums, Lord knows why, gets a puncture, and then tries to take his normal braking point into the next corner.
They just go as gravel around the edge of the track, so...
Like, it was just frustrating. Of course, for Bottas, then obviously he comes in pits. He's down to like P14. I thought they're just going to get him to set fast lap of the Grand Prix. Nope, Mercedes don't even do that with him. They can't even trust him to do that. They just retire the car.
I think they probably knew that whatever, like Verstappen was going to hit the softs regardless. So
yeah, but then Verstappen couldn't because of the VSC.
Yeah, but he still set fastest lap on the end.
Yeah, but that was much earlier.
No, but he set on the last lap. He got faster.
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he? Again, sorry. Yeah, I did.
So
I did
like,
forget
regardless. They knew that Bottas was probably not going to go quicker than Verstappen.
But you may as well just get him to do it once anyway, just in case.
Yeah. But they just retired him. I don't know if there was damage or anything, but whatever.
Yeah.
It was pretty irrelevant race from Bottas. He can't be far ahead of Perez now as in the championship either.
No, he's not.
That'd be quite funny.
He's not. Yeah, because it must be, 13 points?
Which is entirely doable with how Bottas has been performing.
2 races to go, yeah, certainly doable. Lap 42, though, Perez obviously comfortably sat in P3. Red Bull pit him, which even now I'm not quite sure of, because of course Sergio Perez is the tyre wear saver of the year, of the decade, really.
Yeah, him or Button, you'd imagine. But yeah, it was probably just out of safety, really. Like, you can either take a risk and go for P3, or pit and probably come P3 anyway, but if not, P4 for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously with the constructors on the line, they might as well just pit and go for P4.
Exactly, and I think obviously you've already seen Bottas with all these issues today. Obviously you just sort of think we may as well. But Perez was very confused by this. I think Red Bull did just genuinely believe he was easily going to motorbike up to P3. Obviously,
which he almost did.
He almost did, in all fairness. But I was disappointed to see how little he was closing up on Alonso towards the end. Obviously, Fernando Alonso gets on the radio, tells Esteban Ocon to defend like a lion.
Which, if he's seen Ocon drive a car before, is very unlikely.
Yeah, Ocon defends like a house cat instead.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Williams, who have... I mean, they were the talk of the town at the halfway stage of the year, weren't they? They're back...
Yeah, they got, like, 3 double points finishes in 4 races or something?
Yep. And now they're nowhere again. And both drivers get punctures on lap 51 and 52, respectively.
Yeah. And they both seem like... Obviously caused by the excessive curb usage, I'd imagine, but not like they were failures because they'd been on the tyres too long, which is... not a good look for Pirelli.
No, especially when they brought the hardest compounds this weekend. Yeah, it was all very, very weird, wasn't it, at the end? Obviously, we got a late race safety car, which kind of screwed up any sort of last lap Perez-Alonso battle. Obviously, because
Perez was only 3 seconds off at the checker, so maybe 1.5 more laps, which is what the VSC was.
Yeah. There could have been the battle there, couldn't there? But yeah, obviously, like you said, though, Max Verstappen took fastest lap right on the final lap of the Grand Prix. Fernando Alonso... back on the podium. I'm not an Alonso fan, but fair play.
It was still quite nice to see, wasn't it?
Exactly. Podium 98 for Fernando. I think he deserves 100 by the time he retires.
If he gets 100, that'd be class, yeah.
I mean, Hamilton's got that many wins, but, there's levels to this game.
Well, we'll gloss over the reasons.
He's a better driver, and he's given a better machinery.
Second one's true.
Are you trying to argue? Are you sorry?
No.
I would argue
peak Alonso.
2007.
They tied on points, and Hamilton got massive team.
And how many
favouring.
world championships did they have at that point?
What, McLaren?
No, both Alonso and Lewis.
2 and 0.
And how many seasons of Formula 1 had Hamilton done before that year?
0.
Exactly.
Alonso had only done about 5. So.
How do you lose to a rookie when you're double defending world champion?
Because it's a very good rookie.
And
he got massive favouring from the team.
Yeah. Well, I think, to be fair, the stats don't lie who's the better driver. I think that's only fair at the end of the day.
Oh, let's use stats. Yeah, let's do that.
Exactly. But yeah, look, going back to what we were saying, it was nice to see Alonso on the podium. It was nice to see Alonso back on.
And like, he absolutely deserves it. He's so much better than Ocon this season. Obviously, Ocon's had the fluky win.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what all the drivers, apart from Alfa and Haas and Latifi, have now had a podium.
And Stroll.
Oh, and Tsunoda.
Yeah, it's only 12 this year, isn't it?
Is that 12? I thought it was more than
that. But it's Stroll, Tsunoda, and the back markers, isn't it? Bottom 3. No, because Russell's had one.
Russell
7.
did, yeah.
13.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good going.
It's just complete. I'm going to go on a Hulk rant here. You stop me if you want.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we saw 13 last year as well, didn't we?
Yeah, which is like. This is gonna. I'm so clingy.
Go on. I'm gonna give you 30 seconds.
The whole time Hulk is in F1, the only podium sitters you had the big 3 teams basically, plus 1 or 2 more. Over a whole season. It was usually around 7 or 8 drivers a season.
Yep.
The 2 seasons since he's been gone, they've now had 14 drivers each year, just because it's been way less predictable and way closer. And it's just
a reminder as well, normally the extra person that would get those podiums was Hülkenberg's teammate.
Only twice.
In 3 years?
Yep.
Yeah. And how many podiums did Hülkenberg bottle?
I would argue 1.
100% of the podiums he could have got is the correct answer.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, though, Losail is a track then, Jamie. Obviously, we're coming back to Qatar in 2023. Obviously, it's not meant to be Losail, but would you be gutted if it was, even for a couple of years?
Not really. It's better than Catalonia, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a pretty low benchmark, but yeah.
It's definitely not the worst. I'd be happier to see Losail on the calendar than Sochi.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
As long as it's basically if it's not in the bottom 3, it's whatever in it. Have it back.
I think this was the thing, wasn't it? It certainly wasn't a track that I'm like, I'm gutted we're going to Saudi next weekend. I would have loved a back-to-back Qatar Grand Prix. But...
Is there any track you do say that for?
Well, I mean, we've had a few decent races this year.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm trying to think. Now I've said that, are there any tracks that I always think go back for more? Monza generally
Russia.
can be.
Yeah, Monza's before. I'd rather have a second Monza race than Russia. That's true.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But, of course, there was even more controversy after the Grand Prix. Christian Horner managed to get himself a warning.
Was this not after qualifying?
This, I think, he might have been after qualifying, yeah, but it was only declared after the race.
It was about yellow flags, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Because he was calling it a rogue marshal waved a yellow flag, despite it literally being a slow car on a track, and these marshals give it their time for free, usually. They don't get paid very much.
They don't get paid, it's voluntary.
They're not.
I'm pretty certain.
It is free, yeah. So, yeah, try go racing without them, Christian, and see how it goes.
Yeah, and this is the problem, isn't it? Like, don't get me wrong. Toto and Christian have both said some dumb stuff this year at times. But I can't help but feel there's a lot more excrement being thrown up from the Red Bull camp in recent weeks. Especially...
Recently, yeah, but there was so much. Around the time Max kept winning in, like, the 5 races in a row, whatever it was for Red Bull, the Mercedes crew were hating it.
Yeah.
And throwing up some absolute
well,
rubbish.
flexi wings, which, to be fair, did get sorted out.
And which team is the only one who's been disqualified for a rear wing this season?
And which driver won that Grand Prix, remind me? There's levels to this, mate. Yeah, I mean, some of the comments, obviously, you can understand, are just general, you're in a tense battle with another team. A couple of the ones I've really hated have been, rather unsurprisingly, Jos Verstappen.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a bit of a tool anyway.
Exactly. The drug claims, I think, are horrendous.
What did he say?
He reckons Hamilton's been injected with stuff recently. He reckons Angela's injecting Hamilton with things.
That's horrific.
Now, I'm sorry, but suggesting that of someone that might have had a bad track record of that in the past is dodgy enough.
Did he actually say that?
Yes. He said it at Brazil and this weekend.
I've seen an article. Jos Verstappen quotes Hamilton and Mercedes are doing something illegal.
He's claimed, yeah, that Angela is doing something to Lewis.
That's awful.
Like, I'm sorry, again, like I said, someone that's had a ropey track record with that sort of thing anyway is iffy, you say anything. But yeah. Hamilton has been one of the best ambassadors for the sport over the last 15 years.
And he's one of the most sporting drivers,
exactly.
Apart from when he's against Rosberg.
Even then, he's still pretty good, let's be fair.
Yeah.
To even try and suggest that, I think, genuinely, I think if he says it again, you should ban him from coming to Grand Prix for, like, 3 Grand Prix or something like that.
I mean,
like, you cannot have someone in the F1 circus, if you will, who is a literal clown.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of them going around, but he's, like, basically defamation, isn't it? Like,
it's just, like, you know there's that one kid at school that, like, takes the joke too far. Yeah. Like, that's Jos Verstappen with this. And I mean,
and that
let's
kid
be
usually ends up a woman beater, and Jos Verstappen is that as well.
Oh dear God, that got dark very quickly.
Well, it's true.
I was going to try and avoid that side of Jos Verstappen as well. That makes him even more of a dick. We're keeping it PG friendly as well. I could say a whole lot worse than that. Don't you worry. But he's just a hateful character, isn't he, Jos Verstappen?
Yeah.
Like
I really like Max. I don't like where he came from.
No. He's a very, very difficult person to even want to listen to. Never mind, sort of.
There's certain
process.
people who you just think are a bit like, what? I don't know. I'm not going to listen to them. But if you like Jack Villeneuve, or Helmut Marko, but there's you can't like they're not offensive to anyone. They're just a bit stupid.
Yeah, Jos Verstappen is definitely like a hateful person at the end of the day. But anyway, back to more positive notes, though, or more positive notes if you're a Hamilton fan like me. Toto Wolff has confirmed that the OP engine is back for Saudi Arabia.
Why wasn't it at Losail?
Because they're probably worried it's going to blow up.
Okay, I hope it blows up.
I really don't.
If it's, I mean, the Brazil, the speed of that engine was crazy.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible Hamilton wins the last 2 races. I'd probably say he's the favourite to win the last 2 races.
Again, I think, like we said, didn't we, last week? Whoever wins LaSalle is surely in the seat right now.
Oh, I'm gonna be so sad for weeks.
Just remember, Jamie, you're not the guy that already got a tattoo of Max Verstappen 2021 World Champion.
True. Like, that's lucky actually.
Mercedes have just turned up the wick recently again, haven't they? Like I can't remember which F1 journalist it was tweeted today, but there is no driver in Formula 1 that when backed into a corner can come out all guns blazing the same way Hamilton can.
Yeah. I don't know what he's been doing the rest of the year, to be honest, and Mercedes especially. Like,
I think Mercedes
have
finally
found so much potential.
They've definitely put obviously a lot more work into the setups and things like that. But this is right. Changing the subject a bit right now, quickly. This is what I was going to ask. Haas Formula 1 team this year, Jamie.
Okay.
Confirmed. They have not put a single upgrade on that car. How decent must the car have been at the start of the year, considering at the end of the qualifying, Mick Schumacher was like a 10th off Alfa Romeo, who have continued to bring upgrades?
They've not bought loads of upgrades, I don't think.
They brought a few.
But then, it's kind of... You can accept it a little more with Haas because in Bahrain they were complete clowns.
Yeah.
And obviously neither driver knew how to set up a car at all.
But that's what I'm asking.
So,
how do we reckon, had they had two experienced drivers, do we reckon they could have battled Alfa Romeo and Williams?
No. I think they maybe could have like scraped a point somewhere like Imola, maybe.
Yeah. Like
But
Hungary, for example. Or something
I don't
like
think
that.
they'd be quite as backmarkery as they are, but I don't think they'd have done much more than that.
No. But would you agree, obviously, like, would you say generally the average, I'd say arguably the average to the cars in front this year has only been about a second a lap. Do you reckon
they've
most
brought
of
it
that
down
just
recently.
comes from rookie?
Comes from the quality of driver as well. Neither of them are that good.
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, both of them beat your new GOAT of Formula 1 from Shanghai.
2020 F2 was so unlucky for Zhou, though. He should have been at least the first driver.
Should he? Should he really?
Yeah.
He lost to
Look at Austria,
Mazepin, Jamie.
Not fair.
He lost to Mazepin.
Mazepin had way more luck and also finished 19th the year before.
And just ran people off the road whenever they try and make a move.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Saudi Arabia then next weekend.
F2's back.
F2's back. Hyped for that.
When was it? It was Russia?
Russia 2 months ago.
Like September.
2 months ago it's been
This
since
is
the
hard.
last
We don't need to go
F2
back
race.
into it. The calendar is just stupid.
Yep.
It also voids the championship, which is why Zhou is the best driver.
No. But yeah, plenty of excitement. I wanted to tell a little story tonight. Now, I'm just going to get my phone quickly. Very rude, I know. But I would like to give a quick shout out to a subscriber of mine, and maybe a follower.
Jamie183?
It is not, in fact.
Oh, what a shame.
It was a wonderful gentleman called Mohammed, who has, bless his heart, he's been brilliant the last couple of weeks. He lives in Jeddah. And he has been sending me pictures and updates of how the track's coming on. It is so cool. Like, genuinely,
Really
he's been telling me so much. I've learned so much about, like, Jeddah. And
is it going to be ready?
It is apparently going to be ready. But seeing the track evolution, he originally messaged me. This must have been Tuesday. I think he said the pictures were from the 15th of November, so last weekend. And the track then yesterday, it has come so far in a week. Like, I don't think a lot of the venues outside of the actual racetrack itself are ready. It's going to be a lot like Korea, I think.
Yeah. Painting the lines on Friday morning.
But it has been so interesting learning about, obviously, from someone that lives there, about, obviously, the way, sort of, like, they're taking Formula 1 and things like that. And, obviously, if you are listening to the podcast, Mohammed, I know I've said it before to you as well, mate, but I hope you have a wonderful time at the Grand Prix this weekend. Next weekend, sorry, even I should say. But, of course, the FIA are confirming, I think this week, aren't they, whether the track's ready or not.
Yeah,
and I
think it
will.
It will be.
It will be.
Yeah.
They'll sign
it. It won't be done by the book because you're meant to have it ready like 90 days before.
60 days in advance, yeah.
Yeah.
But it will be signed off, ready to go for next weekend. Which, yeah, I'm intrigued. Now, have you driven Jeddah on F1 2021, Jamie?
I haven't driven F1 2021.
If you've still not played the game,
No.
Okay. Again, obviously, coders do a pretty good job of track emulation. It's not perfect. I'm not going to argue it is. But it generally gives you a pretty good idea for the most part. Jeddah is looking like a roller coaster.
I've seen videos of it on board on F1 and it does look really good. It makes me it makes me worried that there's not really any good overtaking because it's like one braking zone.
Yeah, a lot of the braking zones are not particularly big.
And you go down to like 4th gear, and that's the lowest you are the whole lap.
Really, yeah. The only places you're going to be able to overtake are final corner and first corner, by the looks of it.
And it will just be DRS overtakes if they can even get close enough.
Yes,
Which, yeah.
Not a fan of the whole, we've got more corners than everyone else.
Have they actually been claiming that as a fact? What a stupid
It's
claim.
got the most corners in Formula 1 with 27.
How many?
27.
Okay, Singapore's got 23.
Yeah.
There used to be 25. And then Singapore Sling. What a weird claim.
But I'm trying to count around Jeddah now. How many
Most of them are just straights, aren't they?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I want to say about 15 are completely flat.
Yeah. And if you do that in Monaco, you've got about 8 corners before Casino Square.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to go in with too much optimism or pessimism for Saudi Arabia, but on the other hand, I'm thinking Hamilton OP engine, there's so many straights. Show me Hamilton title! Or at least going into Abu Dhabi tied.
I'm living in hope and expectation at this point. So, yes.
The only thing that can help Hamilton now is Bottas comes P2. So at least Hamilton goes into Abu Dhabi with a championship lead, so Verstappen can't just take him out.
You don't think that's happening, though? Bottas beating Verstappen, really?
I believe he could. Not that he will. No, sorry, I believe he should. Not that he could or will.
Yeah, it won't happen.
Probably not. But
I just want... I want them to go into Abu Dhabi, or basically one of these two races, Verstappen either has to win or make sure both of them DNF.
Yes, basically.
Which, if he does it discreetly, is fine. So
no! This is where it's so difficult, isn't it? Because we both want to see a fair fight to the end of the year.
I want to see a Max title.
You don't care for a fair fight anymore, do you? You changed.
It's not been fair throughout the season. Bottas has taken Verstappen out about 3 times at one time, but it was bad.
But Bottas didn't even crash into Max.
Well, he hit Lando into Max. It was bowling, wasn't it?
But no, I'm not going to defend Bottas much here. Lando did cut in front of him and brake very soon after, so all the downforce was gone from the front of that mug. Wasn't good by any stretch from Bottas, but it's not the most uncommon thing. Remember, Lance Stroll did a whole lot worse into turn 1.
He did, to be fair. But then comparing or saying, "Oh, you did better than Stroll," is not really.
Yeah, it's not great, is it? It's not great. Yeah, I think it's very easy now, isn't it, for me to go, I want to see a fair fight to the end of the year when Hamilton, I'm praying that
Hamilton's going to win, basically.
Yeah.
Because the amount of bad luck, or in my opinion, obviously luck always plays a part in championships.
Exactly.
But Verstappen has a lot more bad luck than Hamilton this year.
And this is the thing, isn't it? I'm not going to try and argue against that. But you could the problem I always have with this sort of thing is it's hypotheticals, isn't it? Hamilton could already be a 10-time Formula 1 world champion had things gone his way.
Yeah.
Like, you literally think, had 3 races in Formula 1 gone differently, Hamilton would be a 10-time world champion going for number 11 this weekend. Yeah. Either Shanghai or Brazil 2007,
Spain
2010, and Malaysia 2016. Yeah. You could be looking at a man with 10 world titles wrapped up.
Even in 2012, there were 3 races. The reliability is obviously a team thing. It's not really a luck thing.
Yeah.
But he was screwed by reliability in 2012.
Yes,
so, to be fair, if Hamilton does win a title by luck, he's probably earned it.
And like I said to you a couple of weeks back, I think this would be part of the Max Verstappen story arc, if you will.
Oh, I don't want it to be. I want a title now. I'm too impatient. Because you can see already, 2022 is going to be a Merc fest.
Can you?
I know it already.
Possibly. The thing is, though, Max Verstappen genuinely is a different driver to Hamilton in the sense that I can genuinely see Verstappen going in and winning like 17 of 19 races one year. Once Hamilton's gone, unfair levels of domination. If him and Red Bull are on it,
you've got to hope Russell or Leclerc end up sorting themselves out.
It's not that I don't believe Russell and Leclerc are capable of battling Max in equal enough machinery, but it's just Max has that ruthless
isn't it?
and relentlessness to win week in, week out. That if he had a Red Bull car that was a little bit overpowered, he would just poo all over everyone.
Well, Verstappen's already had 15 podiums this year, and all of them have been first or second.
Yep.
So all of those seconds basically have been to Hamilton.
It's 16 podiums now, I think.
Is it 16?
Yeah.
I know he's going to set the record if he gets
exactly.
2 more.
He'd set 18 if he gets podiums in the last 2.
So, like, if Hamilton had retired already, which people said he was going to in January, didn't they?
Yep.
Like, he would have won, 16 races.
And this takes us back to the beginning of the episode, doesn't it? Had Hamilton or Verstappen not been here this year, it would have been a very dead championship.
Yeah.
But
and whichever way it goes, it's been the best runner-up performance ever.
Yeah, you nabbed that from me yesterday, didn't you?
I have.
I tweeted that yesterday. And it's completely true, though, isn't it? Like, whoever doesn't win this title, it'll arguably be the greatest non-championship winning campaign we've ever seen in Formula 1.
Yeah.
But Hamilton's going to win it.
Verstappen. I really want Verstappen to win it.
I just
the
can't
thing
help
is,
but feel.
I'm glad that it won't phase him, whichever way it goes, because, I mean, he said it, and he's not getting his head, I don't think, about it. But it'll phase his fans so much. I imagine people will literally turn away from F1 completely if, especially Dutch people.
I don't
Verstappen
know.
loses the title.
I'll be honest. I think Verstappen likes to say it won't phase him at all, but I'm genuinely not convinced.
Obviously, it'll hurt. He's a racing driver.
But the thing is, he's brought up on so much pressure from his dad from childhood that won't make it. That'll be.
He'll be kicking himself.
Yeah.
Because he'll blame himself.
But he won't be kicking himself. His dad will be kicking him. Sadly, whether that's metaphorically or literally.
Probably literally. I mean, he's 24 now, isn't he? Probably not anymore.
But I think Max likes to play it off as all cool and chill, but he is panicking.
I really hope that if he does win it, he actually does care, because, haha, yes, boys, doesn't really cut it when you've won your first title.
No, exactly.
But I need to stop thinking about the potential team radio when he wins the title, because it's not going to happen.
Do you genuinely not believe it's going to happen?
I want to lower my expectations, because all year I've been saying, the luck will play out, I have Verstappen will win.
And now Mercedes have
and
come
now
on
I'm
good.
not, because
This is the thing, is that I can't help but feel if they go into Abu Dhabi and Max, if they both retire, is going to win the title, I can completely see him doing something.
And I think he'd be almost stupid not to, especially if he qualifies second or qualifies behind Hamilton. Because if he's on pole, they might as well just play it normally.
The problem is he's giving himself such aggressive driver vibes anyway.
Yeah.
It's just... I'm worried we see a Hamilton domination this weekend. Lewis, Max, front row in Abu Dhabi. Either Max is 2 points in front, 1 point in front, or they're tied. And Max just goes for the almightiest of sends into turn 1. Or Lewis knows he does that, gets out of the way, and then Max is just a dick all day long.
I'd rate it. I want to see it happen.
I think genuinely the worry for me is the fact that, like 1997, for example, no one remembers that season apart from that moment.
Yeah. And the season was fairly decent as well.
2020, the thing for me is 2021 has been such a good year. I hate the fact that genuinely I believe there is a big chance it'll be remembered for one moment.
Or 3 moments. Or 4 moments. If you every sprint race they've crashed or come close to crashing.
I still feel, though, in 10 years' time, if something happens in Abu Dhabi, that'll be the thing people remember.
That'll be the thing.
I don't know.
Yeah. Which is basically like 1990, 1988, isn't it?
Yeah. 1989 and 1990.
It was 89, sorry. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just worried for the sport at the end of the day. But it's
the precedent the FIA have set, isn't it? But
this is the thing.
We'll see what happens. I like to think that they've got enough, just an ounce of sportsmanship in them at Red Bull to not do that.
Really?
But equally, it would be quite funny, and Twitter will love it. So.
I don't know. The problem, I think, like I said, the thing is for me, obviously, especially doing these podcasts as well this year of Formula 1 is, I think we can agree, probably, in terms of a all-out championship battle, the best we've ever seen in the time we've been watching F1.
I think in terms of 2 drivers on top of their game,
2 drivers, absolutely on it, leagues above everyone else, different teams, and
I think 2012 was a better season because it was a lot less predictable.
But again, 2012 was just Seb should have wrapped it up miles earlier than he did.
No, the Red Bull wasn't great at the start of the year. They sorted it out eventually, but yeah, they were qualifying in Q2 sometimes at the start of the year.
Yeah.
So I would say that was a better season just because of the variation you had and loads of different teams could win races.
But we're talking about an all-out championship battle here. This one has been
This one has been
one for the
probably
ages.
The best since 2006.
Yeah. Which again, we weren't watching F1 back then.
No.
So yeah, I'm just worried something will happen in these final couple of races that will not feel like we've wasted an entire year, but certainly
You'll feel like that if Verstappen wins.
No, it depends how Verstappen wins for me. Like genuinely, right, let's quickly go. Jeddah predictions, Jamie. What are we saying? Top 3.
Hamilton, Verstappen. He's random in third. I don't know. Bottas, go for it.
Fair enough. I'm gonna go Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc. It's a street track.
Yeah, Ferrari have been on it a bit, haven't they? Yeah.
Exactly.
Actually, yeah. Leclerc's had 2 street poles this year, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Get a Monaco repeat. That'd be nice.
Yep. Exactly. But yeah, no. The thing, like I said though, we've made our predictions now. We both believe Hamilton's going to win next weekend. For me, I've seen Hamilton wrap up 7 world titles. I don't believe this is his last chance to wrap up a world title either. I hope it's not, anyway. But if Verstappen gets to Abu Dhabi and he's just quicker, fair play. I will go to sleep at the end of Abu Dhabi going, he went up against the greatest driver of all time and he's come out on top.
Yeah.
However, if he takes Lewis Hamilton out to wrap up the World Championship, I will be...
You'll be crying.
No, I won't cry, but I will be upset by it.
Yeah. I think at this point, I've bigged up in my head so much that Verstappen's winning the title.
I think the thing is for me at the end of the day as well, as much as I'm a Hamilton fan and things like this, I'm a fan of Formula 1 as well. Yeah. At the end of the day. And
so you don't want to see it be stupid.
I don't want to see a crash decide.
But saying that, 94 was the start of Schumacher, wasn't it? And he basically won it by controversial means.
Yep. But Schumacher was always happy to do that. Hamilton has never particularly been one to do that. And this is what the difference between Hamilton and Verstappen is. Hamilton and Schumacher even, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. For all we know, Hamilton might get a late race puncture.
The Abu Dhabi podcast is going to be an absolute car crash.
The Abu Dhabi preview and the Abu Dhabi post are going to be... I mean, they're each going to be... The post one is just going to be one of us, depending on who's won the title. Yeah, I just pray.
Verstappen can win the title this week.
He could, theoretically.
Next race. Which is, it's not completely unreasonable. If you get Monaco.
I had to explain to someone on Twitter this morning because someone said, Hamilton's going to take Verstappen out and win the title in Jeddah. You can't win a title from starting the weekend behind with more than one, with that not being the last race of the year. Yeah. That's not how maths works. Unless I've misheard, Jeddah isn't double points or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, if Verstappen wins and Hamilton's lower than 6th, is it? Or
Hamilton needs 9 points this weekend.
Yeah, to keep it alive, which he will do.
Yeah.
So, but if you get a Monaco repeat, Hamilton finished 7th there.
Yeah.
And Verstappen won. Never know. Could be all over.
Could be, but we've both predicted Hamilton's going to win.
I hope. Yeah, we have.
Exactly. Anything else to add though, Jamie? We've had quite a spiritual second half to this podcast, haven't we?
Really? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, sure. No, I want to go and eat food.
You want to go and eat food, right? Okay. Well, I guess we'll finish off there then, shall we? Thank you all so much for watching. Nonetheless, I'd just like to say a quick thank you to Jamie as well. You know, since we've spoke about this year, it has been a pleasure. 2 races to go. I'm sure now the gloves will come off and we'll start kicking off with each other more, but. It's genuinely been a pleasure.
I'll be a pain to record a podcast. I
know you will.
If Lewis wins the title, by the way.
Yeah, I'm well aware. But it's been brilliant this year, being able to cover, like we said, probably the best F1 season we've ever watched. Yeah. And being able to talk about the races with you as well at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're both reasonable people. So I like to think anyway.
But yeah, massive thank you to all of you guys as well that have watched and enjoyed. If you've got any questions, make sure to leave them down below. Let us know your top 3 predictions as well are ready for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix next weekend. Let us know your thoughts and feelings on the sale. And yeah, we'll be back next week out, ready to preview Jeddah properly, as well as talk over some other random bits and pieces. But yeah, thank you all so much, and we'll be back next week with more of the Unnamed Motorsport podcast.